again, I'll attempt to take you back
Yes.
to the matter you talked about not sounding controversial.
Yes.
Are there no other public servants that have declared their assets and there are defaults in them? How is it that it looks as if it's just one person that is being targeted?
It's selective.
Yes. Or you don't think it looks selective?
I don't work for the CCB, not the, what do you call it, that one? The
CCT.
But, I mean, why not everybody? I see your point. Why not everybody? Why just Saraki?
You know, you made a point by saying that all of this will fizzle out, and that's the fear that most Nigerians are having already. And the big thing is that they will also love to follow it to the whole hog. I'm talking about the act establishing the CCB. And one of such is what we haven't seen. There's a before and after declaration. Have you heard about any after declaration when you leave?
Never heard of any after, even before. The truth is, the structure of the declaration process requires to have a roots and branch reform. You need to shake it like a tree. It's not working. It's an incompetent agency. It's not working. And that's part of the problem.
Because the before, the after is very important.
The before is important too. All right, I heard people, again, cynicism, say, first of all, we said President Buhari didn't even declare as he claimed. All right, the poor man declared, you are still challenging him. But that's because the process is not transparent. Why can't I Google up and see what's happening? It's not transparent.
So the CCB itself needs to be reviewed?
Absolutely. Not even reviewed. It needs to be fundamentally and transformationally reformed. You need to put money in there, make it independent of even the president.
Is it not independent?
How is it independent? It sits under Section 153 of the Constitution, which is titled Executive Agencies. Part of the recommendation I made when I was in the national conference was we need national institutions consolidating democracy, like you have in South Africa, maybe 20 of them. Their funding, their tenure of office is not subject to the control of the president. You know, the reason that Professor Jega got strong was because he was part of us in the Uwe Commission, and we recommended special things that made INEC strong. So Professor Iwu of INEC is certainly not Professor Jega of INEC. He was going to Aso Rock to beg for money. Jega was going to the National Assembly to request his entitlement. That was a big difference. So all these institutions that fight corruption cannot be sending budgets to the National Assembly through the Minister of Finance in what is called statutory envelopes. Come on, we have a lot to go if we want to be serious in this country.
Must be some kind of
we have a lot to go.
independence.
We have a lot to go. It's not just this rubbish people are saying. You want to be independent? The president will appoint somebody who he can't control. The minute he appoints Mr. ABC and is confirmed by the Senate, the president will not see him again. The most independent person I can think of in that light is the CJN. Suppose the CJN, the IGP, the Comptroller General of this, AGF, all these very important jobs, don't need to go to the president.
But even the security of tenure does not even change the fact that, you know, he has some level of independence in that regard. We understand that the chairman of the Code of Conduct can only be removed by 2/3 of the National Assembly. Is that right?
What about, I don't know about that, but what about Sanusi, former governor of Central Bank, who thought he was independent? He was removed. He was removed. We're not serious in Nigeria. We need to, you know, the problem is the politicians are afraid to let go of power. Let go of power in a way that these independent institutions do not come back at you. Remember when Kenneth Starr was appointed special investigator over Bill Clinton? He almost got him. Clinton could not control him, except by firing him, of course. So we need to have special institutions that are strong. They get their budgeting from the National Assembly. The security of tenure is well guaranteed. I'll check what you said about the CCB, because I don't know how they're removed, whether it's by the Senate. But if they are, then it's good.
Because not by the Senate. They said 2/3 of the National Assembly.
If that is there, that's powerful. But I don't know about that.
But even if that is,
yeah,
the issue of funding and budgeting still takes them back to the president.
I know the office of the Code of Conduct Bureau is starved of money. They've got no budget. When you finish, Google up and see how much they get. They've got no money. So if they don't have money, how can they sit?
You said something about Professor Jega, who appeared to be, how would I say that, larger than life, for lack of a better word to describe him. Is it possible to get all these other institutions, EFCC, CBN,
Absolutely.
all of them to that level? Absolutely. Would they have to go through the National Assembly?
Yes.
Would the legislators be willing to let them go?
The legislators will be willing to let them go because the legislators, also were looking for freedom from the executive. So when we brought the issue of the independence of the INEC to them, they quickly put their names there and became independent, which is good. So the more independent the institutions, the stronger it is for democracy.
But if the institutions are independent,
yes,
can they be said to be politically independent?
Absolutely.
As they would the politicians let them be?
Okay, let us use the model of the CJN. The CJN is appointed by the president on the recommendation of the NJC and funded by the National Assembly through statutory requests made by the NJC. I think it will be a shock to Nigerians to hear that the president has removed the Chief Justice of Nigeria. So if we can create that kind of independence in other institutions, look at how the what do you call him? The last Inspector General of Police was removed. I can't remember his name now.
Agbakoba.
Just look at how he was removed. But Jega couldn't be shifted. And we all know that the PVC was the pivotal game changer. He couldn't be removed because his independence was guaranteed. He didn't need to go to Aso Rock like the poor old Professor Yu.
You know, it was only last week we had to reopen the talk of the national conference.
Yeah.
So many recommendations that notable Nigerians made in that particular parley all through. A whole lot of good in that talk.
Plenty.
Very quickly before we let you off.
Yes.
Would you love to see it be discarded or another call for another discussions by Nigerians, perhaps maybe for a week?
I heard your program with the gentleman, I think, talking about the northern, we don't need it. They were all there. We initially stormed, we boxed ourselves. Remember the famous Lamido Badamawa? All became friends. And we passed earth-shaking recommendations. And I asked Vice President Yemi Oshibajo when I chaired an MBA program in Abuja, and he said they're going to take a look at it. And I do hope they do. Because if you do that...
Because some of these independence you
Yes.
just spoke about
Yes.
now, they're all there.
It's all there.
And if we put them in
Absolutely.
practice,
Absolutely.
we'll have a better nation.
Absolutely, it's all there. In fact, the speed of, even when we talk about viability of states, some states said, look, you know what, it's difficult to collapse, but we know we're unviable. So we created a situation in which a number of states could come together as a zonal government. It's up to you. If you felt that you were strong enough to be a state, be so.
Okay, on a voluntary basis.
Absolutely. We just allowed peace.
Well, would that be allowed by the Constitution?
It's part of the Constitution. What's the Constitution? The Constitution is no more than the political agreement of diverse peoples. So if we agree, that's it. And then we now write up a document called the Constitution. And we had at least 1,000 recommendations, all very serious. And I do hope that the new government will take it up.
But what if that's not done? What do you hope to see in the next 6 months? What do you hope to see in the war against corruption and the nation moving forward?
I need to see President Buhari push Nigeria seriously forward, get this country on the roll, make us politically stable, because without stability, you can't do anything. Create economic programs that will benefit Nigerians. I'm very excited about the impending legalization of parts of Chapter 2 that is being pushed by this government to benefit 25 million disadvantaged Nigerians. It will cost them about a trillion naira. That's absolutely brilliant. So those are the things. If this government can continue in the path in which they open the space for people to come in, that's all people want. And that's where we hope we can go. But having said that, we're on the precipice. We're on the precipice, we're not out of the woods.
So many things that we should also talk about, but I think I'm afraid we're out of time. Well, that's an hour spent with you.
An hour? Oh.
But anyway, you know, the talk about resource control
Yes.
and resources, natural resources of inherent in so many states. Recall
Yes.
that has also always been our discussions when we have you on the program.
Yes.
We'll go back to all of that pretty
Yes.
much later,
Okay.
so that we'll see how these states can become more viable and stop talking about bailout and so many kinds of funds and inability to pay states. Well, I'll start back about former President, Nigeria Bar Association, and a senior advocate of Nigeria. Nice having you on Sunrise.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well,
Thank you all.
Yeah, we'll take a moment now. We'll return shortly. Stay with us.